Today, I want to have a difficult but important conversation. As some or many of you may know, my wife is a beautiful and amazing African woman, a black woman. We have a 1-year-old son together, and we hope to have more children in the future. It is not lost on me, therefore, that in our society, our children will likely be considered black or at least mixed race, people of color. I believe I have legitimate and well-founded fears of raising our children in the U.S., my home country, a country that I love, but a country that was founded on racism and white supremacy. I fear for my children, who I can fully imagine being treated differently from me, in front of me, and even oppressed over nothing more than the amount of a chemical of melanin in their skin. I have always known that racism and white supremacy were endemic in our nation, and having grown up in Alabama and still living in the South, I have witnessed how they affect black and brown people. I have been an outspoken anti-racist for well over a decade, but since my wife became pregnant with our son, I have felt an overwhelming and urgent need to become more educated about the African American experience and to learn what I can do to become a better ally. My wife, remember, is African, not African American, and she also does not know what it's like to be black in America, to raise a black son in America. And obviously, as a white guy, neither do I. So for the last 2 years, I've been educating myself by reading books, articles, and essays, and listening to books on Audible on the subjects of race, white supremacy, and anti-racism, both by black and white authors. These books have led me to do a lot of self-reflection and introspection, and there are some things I've learned which I wish to share. First and foremost, in general, black people want white people to see color. Those who say they are colorblind and don't see race or treat everyone the same are only perpetuating racism and white supremacy by ignoring the problem and pretending the problem doesn't exist. First of all, not seeing color is impossible by definition. Black people want to be seen for who they are, their culture, their struggles, their triumphs. So-called colorblindness only allows a white person to feel comfortable that she or he is not racist and doesn't do or say racist things, and therefore has no responsibility to make changes. It also ignores and diminishes the lived experiences of people of color. But as I've read, all of us have prejudices and biases. We wouldn't be human if we didn't, and we have been socialized to have them. So let's be honest with ourselves and not be afraid of being uncomfortable, so we can all do the difficult work of rooting out prejudice and racism in ourselves and then in society at large. Next, it is never okay for a white person to use the N-word for any reason in any context. That word is not for me or for any white person. African Americans have every right to reclaim that word and use it or not use it, but it is never okay for white people to say it in any context. If you have a black friend that permits you to say in front of him, don't. There are various reasons your black friend may let you get away with it, reasons usually rooted in white preference, unconsciously white preference, but it's not okay. And I'm nearly 100% positive it really does bother him when you do say it. As I grew up in the 90s, I loved and I still love hip hop and rap music. My favorite artists included Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, Wu-Tang Clan, Nas, Jay-Z, Ice Cube, LL Cool J, The Notorious B.I.G., and Outkast, to name a few. I learned a lot of their songs and would rap along with them. The only problem is that when they dropped the N-word, I didn't censor myself. For years, and I'm ashamed to admit, until quite recently, I still didn't censor myself. I've always known that I shouldn't use the N-word, but I justified it by saying it's just the words in the song, and I'm just singing along. I'm alone in my car or in my house. I'm not hurting anybody, but now I know better. I know how that word has been used to subjugate and oppress black people. And to all my black friends, I sincerely apologize. There is no justification or excuse. I will not say or use that word again. I will be and do better. I promise. I do not tolerate anyone being overtly or discreetly racist around me, and I have made it a habit of calling it out anytime I hear it, so I have to hold myself to a higher standard. Hell, I even got in trouble at work this year for calling out an older white man who said all lives matter in response to me wearing a Black Lives Matter mask. I made a video back about that incident back in August. Go check it out. This is a call to myself and to all white people to do better, to be better, Educate yourselves, Google stuff, read books and essays by Black authors, and learn how to be a better ally to Black people. Or, as Frederick Joseph said in his amazing book, The Black Friend, on being a better white person, step it up a notch and become more than an ally. Become an accomplice, a co-conspirator, someone who is involved in part of the action of ending racism and white supremacy, rather than just a supporter sitting on the sidelines. When you do read, be humble. It can be easy to become defensive and dismissive, but that only serves to protect yourself from being uncomfortable, which prevents learning and growth, and it demeans and rejects the lived experiences of the Black people and dehumanizes them. We must work to root out white supremacy and racism from our culture and institutions, not just for the sake of my son, but for millions of our fellow Americans, our fellow humans. Just like the rest of us, they are fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, and cousins, and grandparents. They love and are loved. They have goals, dreams, ambitions. Their lives matter and have as much meaning as much as any other white person's. But they have and are being disproportionately terrorized and killed by a system that was set up from the beginning to prevent them from realizing their full human potential, their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Strap in, folks. I'm just getting started.